After being murdered by my husband and best friend, I queued up at the registration office of the underworld. Reincarnation. Which family do you want to be born into? The ghostly official asked me. I pointed at the pair of bastards in the mirror of life and death, letting out a sinister laugh. For their family, I want to be the fruit of their love. The ghostly official was taken aback and advised me, with such heavy resentment, be careful, it might affect your fortune in the next life. It's nothing, I said, waving my hand dismissively. In this life, I will be a good daughter who comes back to repay a debt of gratitude. The next moment, I was enveloped in warm amniotic fluid, followed by a dizzying, crushing pressure accompanied by a loud cry. I, Lin Wan, was born bearing the identity of Lin Yin, the daughter of my enemy. Congratulations, President He, it's a baby girl, and what a strong cry she has. The nurse wiped me clean and carefully carried me to the woman by you, my bestie. At this moment, her face was pale yet radiated a Madonna-like glow as she reached out her hand to me. Come here, baby, let mama hold you. Her voice was so tender it could melt your heart. Mom, you. The very moment her fingertips brushed against my skin without any warning, I let out the most piercing, most frantic wail of my entire life. Wah. My cries were so piercing that they shattered the warmth of the delivery room. The nurse and doctor were both startled. Bayu was so frightened by me that her hand trembled, and she nearly dropped me. What's wrong? Everything was fine just a moment ago. The nurse quickly took me over, and as soon as I left Bayu's arms, my cries immediately subsided. It might just be a newborn's lack of security, the doctor casually explained, not giving it much thought. But Bayu's expression had already shifted slightly. Back at the Lee residence, the moment she steps within 3 feet of me, my alarm goes off automatically. The moment she reached out to hold me, I would instantly transform from a cherubic baby into a fiercely struggling hedgehog. My limbs flailed wildly as my sharp nails clawed mercilessly at every inch of her exposed skin, her face, neck, and arms. Hiss, Bayu winced in pain. Looking down, she saw 3 distinct bloody scratches on her smooth arm. I, on the other hand, took the chance to cry even more bitterly, as if I had suffered an enormous injustice. What's going on? This was the scene that greeted Leisha as he came over. Drawn by the sound, Bayu's arm was covered in blood, while her daughter wailed heart-wrenchingly in her arms, as if being tortured. I don't know, she suddenly. Bayu's face turned pale. Leisha took me from her impatiently. The moment I was in his arms, my crying stopped instantly, and I let out a couple of aggrieved sobs. She buried her flushed little face in his warm chest, found a comfortable position, and fell into a deep sleep. Her well-behaved and quiet demeanor was a complete contrast to just moments ago. Leisha looked at his angelic daughter in his arms, then at the scratches on his wife's arm. His brow furrowed into a deep frown. From that day on, this became the Lee family's daily routine. When Bayu tried to hold me, I scratched her and cried my heart out. When Leisha, Grandpa, Grandma, or even the nanny held me, I was as well behaved as a doll. Within less than a month, Bayu's body was covered with fresh wounds on top of old ones, and she had to use thick concealer to hide the blood marks on her face. Meanwhile, rumors quietly spread that the youngest daughter of the Lee family is naturally at odds with her mother. That evening, Bayu's lip was once again scratched open by me. She finally broke down. What the hell do you want? She slammed the door shut, lowered her voice, and snarled at me in the crib, her face twisted with rage. Are you a demon? Why do you have to single me out? I stared back at her with wide, innocent eyes, watching her in silence. Yes, I'm the demon who came to take your life. Seeing me not crying or fussing, Bayu's reason slowly returned. She took a deep breath, as if consoling herself. You're just a baby who doesn't understand anything, you don't get it. Her hand trembling, she reached out to me again, as if trying to prove something. At that very moment, the door was pushed open. Leisha walked in carrying a glass of milk. What he saw was his wife's ferocious expression and her hand reaching toward their daughter in a threatening manner. Bayu, what are you doing? He dashed over in a flash, pulling me tightly into his protective embrace, his eyes fixed on her with nothing but disappointment and coldness. I just wanted to hug her. Bayu protested desperately. Leisha held me, gently soothing me, then said to Bayu without even looking up, if you don't like her, just stay away from her. From now on, let Sister Zhang take care of her, too. Ever since her custody rights were stripped away, Bayu's standing in this household plummeted. She went from being the mistress of the house to a mere lodger, a dispensable symbol of motherhood. Leisha grew increasingly cold toward her, while her grandparents simply ignored her altogether. Only at family gatherings, where appearances had to be kept up, Was she allowed to hold me and put on a false show of maternal affection and filial piety? As for me, I grew to the age of 2, cherished and adored by everyone around me. I was beginning to babble a few simple, muddled words. Every single word has been meticulously calculated by me. On Grandpa's birthday banquet, the Lee family was packed with honored guests, buzzing with lively excitement. Dressed in a little red cheongsam, I was held in my grandpa's arms like a lucky doll, basking in everyone's praise. Bayu stood to the side, dressed in an expensive gown with flawless makeup, forcing a smile onto her face. I knew she was waiting for an opportunity, one where she could publicly display her maternal love and salvage a bit of her dignity. Sure enough, when it was time to cut the cake, she came over carrying a small slice of cream cake. She walked toward me gracefully, her voice dripping with honey. "Nyen Nyen, my darling, come, let mommy feed you some cake." She knew perfectly well that in such a setting, I wouldn't embarrass her in front of everyone. Unfortunately, she miscalculated. I'd been waiting for this day for far too long. I immediately struggled out of Grandpa's arms and slid down, backing away repeatedly as if I had seen something filthy. The small face was filled with fear and resistance. "And no, don't," I stammered, my words slurred. Bayu's smile froze on her face. The relatives around her all cast glances of anticipation, as if waiting for a show to unfold. "Nyen Nyen, be good, mommy means no harm." She grew anxious, took another step forward, and tried to grab my hand. Right now, I jerked up my little hand, mustering all my strength to point at her face, which was slightly twisted with guilt. Then, I summoned all the resentment and murderous intent from my past life, condensing them into the most venomous curse. Through the mouth of a 2-year-old, word by word, it came out as a scream: "Wicked woman, kill someone." Everyone stared at me in shock, then turned to look at Bayu, whose face had instantly turned as pale as a ghost. "Murder, what did she say? Did I hear that right? Oh my God, this kid. Has she been possessed or something?" The murmurs surged in like a tidal wave. Grandma and Grandpa were the first to react, pulling me into their arms and patting my back with concern. "Don't be scared, Nyen Nyen. Did you have a nightmare last night?" "Nonsense." Lija's face instantly drained of all color. Bayu completely broke down. "It wasn't me. I didn't do it," she screamed hysterically, pointing at me, her voice shrill and unhinged. "It's her. This little brat is lying. She's not a normal child. She's a demon." A mother publicly berated her own daughter, calling her a beast and a demon. "Shut your mouth." Lija rushed over and slapped her hard across the face. "Are you out of your mind, saying something like that to a 2-year-old? I lay in Grandpa's arms, watching that pair of scumbags turn against each other, and a thrill of vindictive pleasure coursed through me. 3. The farce at the birthday banquet was the last straw that broke. Bayu, madwoman, bitter wife, mother cursed by her own daughter. These labels stuck to her like a stubborn stain, making her unable to hold her head up in the entirely family. Lija avoided her like the plague. He actually seemed to believe my claim of being a vengeful spirit incarnate. As soon as he got home, he locked himself in his study, preferring to face a ghost than to see his so-called true love wife. Completely isolated, Bayu's mental state visibly deteriorated. She no longer dared to approach me on her own, but every time she looked at me, her eyes were filled with venom. She started giving me the silent treatment, deliberately knocking over my milk, making loud noises while I was sleeping, even pinching my arm hard when no one was around. I silently endure all of this because I knew she was just venting her anger, and I am waiting for an opportunity to utterly destroy her. This opportunity was the crystal music box she had hidden at the very bottom of her jewelry case. That was a token of love Lija gave her after she became pregnant with me. I slipped into her room. Quietly, I fetched a stool, climbed onto the dressing table, and dug out that crystal-clear music box. Without a moment's hesitation, I raised it and slammed it onto the marble floor with all my might. Crash! With a sharp crack, the music box shattered into pieces, scattering glass shards all over the floor. That still wasn't enough. I closed my eyes, and images of my brutal death in my past life flashed through my mind. Then, I picked up the sharpest shard and, without a moment's hesitation, slashed it hard across my fair, tender arm. Hiss! A sharp, piercing pain shot through, and blood immediately gushed out. The excruciating pain made it nearly impossible for me to stand. I smeared a few drops of blood onto the skirt of my most beloved doll. Then, clutching it and covered in evidence of his crime, he stumbled out of the room. "Grandpa, Grandma!" My terrified, tear-choked scream made everyone look at me in alarm. My clothes were disheveled, my whole body trembling, and in my arms I clutched a blood-stained doll on the other arm, a wound so deep the bone was visible gushed blood. "Oh my God, Nyen Nyen." Grandma let out a piercing scream and was the first to rush over. I threw myself into Grandma's arms, sobbing uncontrollably with the broken phrases I've long practiced. I pieced together the most perfect lie. "Mommy, bad, Mommy, doesn't, like Nyen Nyen." I lifted the blood-stained doll, sobbing almost to the point of passing out. Smash, smash the doll is broken. Finally, I stretched out my bleeding arm and whimpered softly, "Hand, hurts, bleeding." Every single word I uttered struck everyone's hearts like a hammer blow. Bayu was completely dumbfounded. She looked at the wound on my arm, then at her own empty hands, her mind going completely blank. "No, it wasn't me, I didn't." Her excuses seemed so pale and feeble in the face of the blood on the ground. "You venomous woman." Grandpa trembled with rage, pointing at her nose, his eyes blazing with fury. "How dare you lay such a vicious hand on Nyen Nyen? Our Li family has no place for a heartless monster like you." Lija was utterly horrified by the bloody scene before him. He looked at me, then at Bayu, who seemed possessed by madness. The last shred of marital affection in his eyes was replaced by fear and disgust. Just as they were about to send me to the hospital, I lay on Grandpa's shoulder, looking past everyone's panic, and cast a cold gaze at Bayu, whose face was ashen. I mouthed a word to her silently, "Go to hell." She got it. She stared at me, and finally let out a scream of sheer terror, so inhuman it didn't sound like it came from a person, for the wound on my arm required 5 stitches. I became the Li family's most precious porcelain doll, carried with utmost care wherever I went. Grandpa specially hired 2 bodyguards for me, working around the clock in shifts. The only task is to make sure Bayu stays at least 3 meters away from me. Bayu was placed under complete house arrest in her bedroom. I heard she went berserk, smashing things and screaming that I was a demon, that I had hurt myself. Unfortunately, no one believed her. Who would believe the words of a crazy woman who only hurts children? But I know this is not enough. House arrest is not the end. What I want is for her to vanish completely and cleanly from this home, from my life. That day, I sent the bodyguards away, saying I wanted to play hide and seek by myself for a while. Then, I quietly crept to the door of her bedroom. The door is unlocked. She was sitting on the carpet, facing the crystal music box I had smashed. She mumbled to herself. Like a madwoman, I pushed the door open and walked in. She saw me and, like a startled rabbit, shrank back into the corner, her eyes filled with terror. What are you doing here?" I walked up to her, crouched down, and in a tone completely at odds with my age, said to her slowly and deliberately, word by word, "I'm here to take back what's mine." Yu's pupils suddenly constricted. I looked at her and, slowly, gave her the smile that belonged to Lin Wan, the one she knew best. "You stole my husband, killed me. Now, I'm going to take everything back, piece by piece." Bayu's rationality snapped completely at that moment. She finally confirmed that I am no ordinary child. I am Lin Wan's vengeful spirit, back to claim her life. "Demon, I'll kill you, you demon." She let out a scream and lunged at me like a madwoman, her bloodshot eyes blazing with primal murderous intent. She grabbed my arm and dragged me out, pulling me toward the long staircase on the 2nd floor with its marble steps. I didn't resist. I was even playing along with her. "I am timing it precisely. I know that in 10 seconds, Grandpa will come out of his study and head downstairs for his unshakable daily afternoon tea. Drop dead, you little beast." Bayu had completely lost her mind. She dragged me to the stairwell and raised her hand high. Right now, I heard the soft click of the study door being turned open. In the instant before Bayu's slap was about to land, summoning every ounce of strength, I let out the most piercing, terrified scream. "Mom, don't push me." Then, I pulled my hand away from hers. Without a second thought, I tumbled down those dozens of cold, hard steps. The world is spinning. The excruciating pain of my bones hitting the steps nearly made me pass out on the spot. Bang! My body crashed onto the 1st floor like a tattered rag doll. His left arm was twisted at an unnatural, grotesque angle. A tsunami of agony engulfed me, but I still mustered my last ounce of strength and lifted my head. I saw Grandpa standing at the top of the stairs on the 2nd floor, his face deathly pale, trembling all over as he stared at the hellish scene before him. He saw Bayu's hand, raised high and still in midair. Too late to lower. He heard my desperate cry of "Don't push me." He also witnessed my tragic fall down the stairs. I met his eyes, which were filled with shock, anger, and boundless regret. I reached out my intact right hand, trembling, and pointed at the woman upstairs who had been completely petrified. My tears mingled with cold sweat, my voice barely a whisper. "Grandpa, save me, Mom, she wants to kill me." the moment the words fell, my head tilted to one side, and I passed out. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard Grandpa's voice, a roar twisted beyond recognition by sheer rage and heart-wrenching pain. 5. I was unconscious in the hospital for an entire day and night. When I came to, my left arm was already wrapped in a thick cast, suspended high across my chest. The diagnosis reads, a hairline fracture of the left ulna, accompanied by severe multiple soft tissue contusions. My Nyen, my precious darling, Grandma held me in her arms, weeping as if her heart would break. She stroked my face over and over again. Grandpa stood by the window, his figure forlorn, yet an ominous tension radiated from him, like the calm before a storm. From Grandma's sobbing, broken words, I pieced together everything that happened after I fell into my coma. The ambulance and my grandfather's personal lawyer arrived at the Lee family villa almost at the same time. Bayu was immediately subdued by the bodyguards and locked in the attic on the 3rd floor. There is someone guarding the door around the clock. She was screaming and cursing like a maniac inside, calling me a devil, saying I had orchestrated everything. Unfortunately, my broken bones and the symptom of being scared into silence are the irrefutable evidence of all her crimes. 2 days later, I was discharged from the hospital. Grandpa personally wheeled me into the Lee family's main hall. In the hall, all of Lee's relatives, along with the family's legal counsel, sat upright and solemn. Bayu, who was escorted down from the attic by the bodyguards just like a dead dog, it was thrown right in the middle of the hall. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes vacant, with none of the radiance she once had. Leisha. Grandfather's voice was cold, devoid of any warmth. Leisha shuddered and stepped forward with his head lowered. The lawyer placed a document and a pen in front of him. This is the divorce agreement. Sign it, make her leave with nothing, otherwise, you and her can both get the hell out of this house. No room for negotiation. This was forcing Leisha to make a choice. Choose the true love he was willing to kill his wife for, or choose the wealth and splendor of the Lee family. Leisha's face turned from pale to livid. He glanced at Bayu, who lay haggard and withered on the ground, then turned to look at me, pale and pitiful, sitting in a wheelchair, his only, and forever only, support. He made that choice in just half a second. He picked up the pen and, without even glancing at the contents of the agreement, swiftly signed his name at the bottom. Dad, I'm sorry. He turned around, bowed deeply to his grandfather, his voice filled with remorse. I was blind to have let a wolf into the fold, nearly ruining Nyen and bringing disaster upon the Lee family. He shifted all the blame entirely off himself. Leisha, Bayu, lying on the ground, lifted her head in disbelief. She looked at the man she had once loved with all her heart, at the cold and ruthless expression on his face now, and finally understood something. She stopped crying and fussing, and instead, she smiled. Ha ha, ha 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 ha. Her laughter was shrill and unhinged. Karma, it's all karma, Leisha, you'll get what's coming to you. And that little beast, she's not human, she'll devour you, every last one of you will die. Amid her curses, the bodyguards stepped forward with expressionless faces. They dragged her out of the wealthy family she had once dreamed of joining. After Bayu was dragged away, Grandpa turned to the lawyer and uttered words that shattered Leisha's heart. Draft another document. Transfer 20% of my shares in the Lee Group to Nyen's name immediately. Grandpa came over to me, gently touching my arm in its cast, his eyes filled with an unshakable tenderness and guilt. He announced in front of everyone, from today onward, Lee Nyen is the sole heir of the Lee family. Leisha's body swayed violently. He looked at me, his 3-year-old daughter sitting in a wheelchair. For the first time, his eyes were stripped of all fatherly love and tenderness. Dad, now, it's your turn. 6. After Bayu was kicked out, my left arm rested for a whole year. Even though I've long since healed, I still find myself clutching my arm and crying out it hurts on every rainy day. This serves as a reminder to every member of the Lee family, especially Leisha, of what they owe me. Nourished by this guilt, I grew to the age of 7. I became the undisputed little queen of the Lee family. My grandparents did everything I said, while my father, Leisha, was completely reduced to my senior servant. He was stripped of his power at the company, so his daily routine became driving me to and from school and playing games with me. His only value in existence is to play the role of a perfectly devoted father, to make up for the mistakes he once made. A man in his prime, ambitious and restless, trapped in such a life, would naturally seek solace elsewhere. Soon, I caught the scent of an unfamiliar perfume on him. I effortlessly hacked into his phone using the latest tablet Grandpa got for me. That woman was Zhang Man, a fresh graduate, young, beautiful, and just out of college. Leisha rented a luxury apartment for her, showered her with designer bags and jewelry, He was incredibly generous with his spending. He was clearly head over heels. The chat logs were filled with cringy terms of endearment like baby and my new life. I laughed as I looked at those chat logs. Leisha, your rebirth is your death sentence. I didn't go running to grandma and grandpa to tattle. That would have been letting him off too easy. I chose an evening when he had just finished being intimate with Jean Man, returned home, and was in the best mood, clutching my teddy bear. I walked into his study. Daddy, I called out. Timidly, Nyen Nyen, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? Leisha immediately put down his phone and opened his arms to me. I have no past. Standing still, head bowed, I asked in a low voice, Daddy, do you not want Nyen Nyen anymore? Nonsense. Leisha's face changed. How could Dad ever abandon you? I looked up, my eyes brimming with tears. But, I saw you buying a pretty dress for another lady. Are you going to find me a new mommy? Is Nyen Nyen not good enough? As I spoke, tears kept plopping down, my crying both sorrowful and restrained. Leisha completely panicked. He rushed over and pulled me into his arms, explaining incoherently, No, Daddy just made a new friend. Daddy would never abandon Nyen Nyen. Really? I lifted my tear-streaked face. Really? He swore to the heavens. I looked at his panicked expression and knew the moment had come. I stopped crying and, with a maturity beyond my years instead, began to consider things from his perspective. Don't be scared, Daddy. I reached up with my little hand and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Daddy gets lonely too. Nyen Nyen understands. As long as Daddy is happy, that's all that matters. Leisha was stunned. He probably expected me to throw a fit, but never imagined he'd be met with such thoughtfulness. I sniffled, mustered every ounce of my acting skills, and dealt him the most devastating blow. Daddy, please don't let Grandma and Grandpa know. I grabbed his clothes and lowered my voice, as if sharing the biggest secret in the world. They'll be mad at you. Nyen Nyen will keep your secret. Pinky swear. I held out my pinky finger. Leisha looked at me, his eyes slowly reddening. His eyes were filled with emotion, guilt, and a survivor's relief. He thought I was really looking out for him. He thought that I, the daughter he had wronged so deeply, was his only ally. He trembled as he pinky swore with me. Nyen Nyen, you really are Daddy's little sweetheart. He choked up and held me tightly in his arms. I took the opportunity to pull a bank card out of my pocket. It was a supplementary card my grandpa gave me with no spending limit. Here, Dad, this is for you. I pressed it into his hand. Buy a necklace for that pretty auntie, will you? If she's happy, Dad will smile more. At this moment, Leisha's psychological defenses were completely shattered by me. He held me, a man nearly 40, crying like a child. He kept saying I was his angel, his one and only salvation in this life. I let him hold me, wearing the most innocent, purest smile on my face, but inside, I was sneering. Don't cry. When I personally send you to hell, you'll have plenty of time to thank me. Your good daughter 7. With my encouragement and cover, Leisha and that woman named Jean Man grew even more infatuated in their love. Leisha naively thought that I, his daughter, was his only ally and salvation. He even started envisioning his brand new future right in front of me. When Grandpa gets old and I grow up, he can be with Jean Man openly and have another well-behaved son. I listened to his drunken ramblings, a naive smile on my face, while a cold, murderous intent settled in my heart. Leisha, you deserve to die. I used the money from my grandpa to support their romance on the side. Meanwhile, using another phone, he secretly got in touch with Jean Man. I know she's pregnant. I know she longs for a title. I also know that deep down, she is a greedy and foolish woman. On my grandmother's 65th birthday, I timed it perfectly and, under an anonymous identity, sent her one last message. Leisha will announce his engagement to the heiress of the Lin Group tonight. You and your child will be left with nothing. This is your last chance. The Lee family's birthday banquet. Dressed in my white princess gown, I nestled close to Grandma, receiving everyone's blessings. Leisha stood nearby, wine glass in hand, beaming with joy. He probably thought that as long as he kept me and my grandparents happy, he could coast along like this forever. Just as Grandma was about to cut the cake, the party atmosphere reached its peak. Leisha, get out here. A heavily pregnant young woman, her face streaked with tears, burst through the security guards like a madwoman and stormed in. It's Jean Man. All eyes in the room instantly snapped to her and Leisha, whose face had turned deathly pale in a flash. You liar. Jean Man pointed at Leisha, sobbing heart-wrenchingly. You said you would marry me. You said you'd give our child a home, and now, you're going to get engaged to another woman, aren't you? What nonsense are you talking? Get out. Leisha was terrified out of his wits. He rushed over, trying to cover her mouth and drag her away. The scene instantly descended into chaos. Grandpa was trembling with rage, and Grandma's face turned pale. I watched the grand drama I had orchestrated unfold before me, knowing it was time for me, the best actress, to take the stage. I ran away from Grandma, crying out in a trembling, panicked voice as I went, "Daddy, Daddy, what's wrong with you? Who is this woman? Make her leave, now." I rushed between the two people who were pulling at each other, stretched out my frail little hands, and shoved Zhang Man with all my might. "You wicked woman, don't you dare bully my dad." Of course I know that an 8-year-old child simply doesn't have the strength to push over an adult, but I don't actually need to push her down. All I needed was, amid the most chaotic scuffle, to find the right angle and slam my body hard into her heavily pregnant belly. "Ah!" Zhang Man let out a blood-curdling scream, her whole body falling backward like a kite with its string cut. A dull thud rang out, she collapsed onto the ground, and bright red blood quickly spread out from under her skirt. Everyone was stunned into silence by the gruesome scene. Leisha stared blankly at the blood on the ground, then looked at me, his lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. I, on the other hand, immediately froze in panic, plopped down on the ground, and burst into earth-shattering sobs. Instead of looking at the woman on the ground, I stumbled toward Grandma, who had already rushed over, and clung tightly to her leg. "Grandma, I'm sorry," I sobbed, gasping for breath, nearly passing out. I didn't mean to, I just wanted Dad to come home." That woman, she wouldn't let go of him, so I pushed her. "Grandma, did I mess up big time?" Boo-hoo. My crying was filled with a child's innocence, fear, and the guilt of having caused trouble. Everyone present looked at the woman who had miscarried on the ground, at the devastated Leisha, and then at me, this victim who was crying so hard I could barely breathe, desperate to protect my father. Their expressions shifted from shock, slowly turning into sympathy and pity. "Yeah, I'm just an 8-year-old kid. I just want to protect my dad. What fault is mine?" Grandma's birthday banquet ended in a bloody farce. Zhang Man was rushed to the hospital, but she lost the baby. She wept inconsolably in the hospital, placing all the blame on Leisha, who had deceived her feelings. As for me, I came down with a high fever and fell unconscious from extreme fright and deep self-blame. My illness became the last straw that broke Leisha. Grandpa looked at me lying in the hospital bed, my face flushed red with fever as I rambled deliriously, and delivered the final verdict. "From today on, you are no longer my son. All of the Lee family's assets have nothing to do with you. I've frozen every card under your name. Now, get the hell out of here." Leisha's eyes widened in disbelief. He dropped to his knees, clutching his grandfather's leg and begging desperately, but his grandfather just coldly kicked him away. And so, Leisha was stripped of everything, driven out of the Lee family like a stray dog. I've been sick for half a month. I've been fully aware of Leisha's situation over the past 2 weeks. He was penniless and disgraced. Zhang Man's family hated him to the bone, and had someone break one of his legs, he was like a hunted rat, holed up in the cheapest, filthiest rental room, living off the last of his branded watches and belts by selling them. I know that a gambler backed into a corner will do the maddest things, and I was his final, and only, bet. I deliberately let my bodyguards let their guard down. Every day after school, I insisted on staying an extra 10 minutes at the dessert shop near the school gate. On the third day, that familiar yet unfamiliar figure appeared. Leisha limped toward me, gaunt and haggard, his eyes bloodshot and wild. "Nyan Nyan." His voice was hoarse. The bodyguards around immediately tensed up, but I shook my head at them and then, like a happy little bird, dashed toward Leisha. "Daddy, I missed you so much." I threw myself into his arms, using a coquettish tone to utter the most heart-wrenching words. "Grandpa won't let me see you. Daddy, do you not want Nyan Nyan anymore?" My naivety and dependence lessened the madness in his eyes by a trace. It instead morphed into a twisted form of fatherly love and hope. "How could I ever abandon you?" He held me tight and whispered in my ear, his voice so low that only the two of us could hear. "Nyan Nyan, do Daddy a favor, okay? If you come with Daddy, we can be together forever from now on." "Sure." I nodded without hesitation. I took the initiative to grasp his hand and, under the stunned gaze of the bodyguards, climbed into his beat-up van. The car drove all the way to an abandoned, unfinished building. He dialed his grandfather's number on a senior-friendly phone, his voice trembling with excitement. "Dad, I have Nyan Nyan, get me 500 million, or I'll take her down with me." After hanging up the phone, he looked at me with a complicated expression. There was greed, guilt, but above all, a desperate, all-or-nothing madness. I sat in the corner, clutching my backpack, tilting my head, and asked with a look of feigned innocence, "Daddy, are we playing a game?" "Just Like how you and Bayou dealt with that auntie in the photo. Lija's body suddenly stiffened. You, how do you know? He stared at me in terror, as if looking at a monster. Because I saw it. I giggled and pointed at my eyes. I've been watching you all along. He broke down. He clutched his head and began to scream incoherently. It's not my fault. It was that bitch Bayou. She came up with the whole idea. She said if Lin Wan died, we could be together forever. She was the one who arranged the car accident too. I just drove her onto that road. I didn't want her to die. I really didn't want her to die. He shouted out all his crimes right in front of me and I, quietly, pressed the switch on the tiny voice recorder attached to my backpack. Charm, thank you for being honest. Now, you can die in peace. 9. The moment I pressed the record button on the voice recorder, the emergency locator system on the back of the pendant was also triggered. Everything Grandpa gave me was top-notch. In less than 10 minutes, the sound of sirens grew from a distance to nearby. Armed with live ammunition, the SWAT officers descended from above and pinned the utterly mentally broken Lija firmly to the ground. As for me, I was held in the arms of a tall, kind police officer. He covered my eyes with his warm, big hand and said to me gently, "Don't be scared, little one, it's all right now." I buried my face in his arms, trembling all over. At the police station, I saw my grandparents, who were frantic with worry. I threw myself into their arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Only then, almost as an afterthought, did I pull the little bear pendant out of my pocket. "Grandpa, Dad, he said so many horrible things," I sobbed, handing over the voice recorder. "I was scared, so I pressed here. The evidence is ironclad: kidnapping and murder, combined punishment for multiple crimes." Both of them were sentenced to life imprisonment. Years later, at my coming-of-age ceremony, my grandfather officially handed over the position of chairman of the Lee Group to me. Under my guidance, the Lee Group's market value tripled, reaching unprecedented heights of brilliance, and I, Lee Nianwan, became the youngest and most legendary queen in the entire business world. On the second day after officially taking over the company, I cancelled all my meetings, went alone, and drove to the maximum security prison on the outskirts of the city. In a special visitation room, I saw my parents from this life through a thick pane of bulletproof glass. Life in prison had long since worn them down to shadows of their former selves. Lija's hair had turned mostly white, his back was hunched, and his face was etched with the deep lines of humiliation and regret. Bayou had aged horrifically, her once prized beauty completely vanished, leaving only a pair of lifeless eyes. When they saw me, a faint glimmer lit up their murky eyes simultaneously. Nian Nian, you've come to see us," Lija spoke first, pressing his face excitedly against the glass. "Daddy knows he was wrong. I let your mother down, and I let you down too. Could you put in a good word with Grandpa, so I can get out of here sooner?" Bayou also burst into tears, pounding hard on the glass. Nian, Mommy misses you so much. Can you forgive me?" Back then, I was completely blinded by greed. They were still dreaming of staging a comeback. I watched them quietly, waiting until they had cried enough and finished their act, before slowly breaking into a smile. "Dad, do you still remember that the first birthday gift you gave Lin Wan was a Parker fountain pen?" Lija's crying suddenly stopped. He froze, looking at me in confusion. I turned back to Bayou, my smile unchanged. "Mom, do you remember that limited edition silk scarf Lin Wan gave you? You said you absolutely loved it, but then you turned around and used it as a cushion on the hotel headboard where you and Lija were having your affair." Bayou's expression froze. She stared at me, and a hint of fear began to appear in her eyes. I spoke softly through the glass. "You schemed and plotted, killed Lin Wan, and took everything she had. You welcomed the fruit of your love with such joy. You raised her, and watched as she led you step by step into hell." I stood up, looking down at the two bloodless faces across the glass. Slowly, they revealed the final answer. "What a pity. I am Lin Wan." I saw Lija's pupils dilate to their maximum in an instant. His whole body went limp, as if his bones had been pulled out, collapsing to the ground with a raspy, fish-like ha-ha sound escaping his mouth. And Bayou, she stared at me, her face twitching uncontrollably. A few seconds later, she suddenly burst into a wild, piercing laugh that sounded almost inhuman. She laughed, she cried, and she slammed her head against the hard bulletproof glass, as if possessed by madness. I didn't spare them another glance. I turned around, pushed open the heavy iron door, and walked out. Behind them came the utterly shattered and despairing hells of two sinners. Lin Wan is dead. The one who survived is Li Nianwan. The sky is vast, the sea is wide, and I am free to soar. That's all for the first story, stay tuned, the next one is even more exciting. My boyfriend's girlfriend went to great lengths and finally got what she wanted, marrying into the elite circles of Beijing's high society. During the bridal escort, the young masters of Beijing's elite circle brought out all sorts of props. The usually tough tomboy, with tears welling in her eyes, shot a pleading look at her boyfriend. He suddenly pushed me out. Why pick on anyone else? Don't mess with the bride, mess with the bridesmaid, he coaxed me in a low voice. Xiao Xiao is an internet celebrity, and she married into a wealthy family in Beijing's elite circle. If this gets posted online, it could hurt her reputation. Just stand in for her this once, and I'll have her send you a big red envelope later, that's worth several months of your delivery income. At this moment, Li Xiaoqiao said fawningly, gentlemen, I know you like to have fun, and I won't spoil it for you. Here, this is my buddy's girlfriend, she delivers takeout, feel free to use all the props you prepared on her, don't let them go to waste. But she had no idea I'm the top dog in Beijing's elite circle. Delivering food is just a bet I made with the old man. The spoiled brats I'd beaten up could line up from the 2nd ring road all the way to the 5th ring road. At the front of the groomsmen, Zhou Feng, sporting a lip piercing, stepped forward and gave me a long, appraising look. Why do I feel like she looks familiar? How could it not look familiar? After all, back when the 2nd-generation rich brats of the Beijing circle were bullying ordinary people, I beat every single one of them. But now, the bold red hair has turned black, and the fiery red lipstick has given way to a bare face. Swapped the biker jacket for a little white dress, add to that a pair of black-rimmed glasses and skin tanned a shade darker from delivering food. Deliveries who would recognize the shadows they once cast. Li Xiaoqiao gave an apologetic smile and said, she's just a delivery driver, maybe she's delivered your orders before. Zhou Feng let out a derisive laugh and pointed at the black device behind him, its surface crackling with electrical currents, a lie detector capable of making someone lose control of their bladder and bowels on the spot. He blew a smoke ring. Hey, delivery girl, want to try this first? I turned to my boyfriend Gu Qingzhou, my voice calm. On the first day we got together, you said you'd always stand in front of me and protect me, and now, he turned his face away, lacking conviction. Ah Su, Xiao Xiao has been pampered and spoiled, you're used to the wind and sun, tough-skinned and thick-skinned, just take the trouble for her. Okay, I misjudged you. Ignore the twinge in your heart. I pressed my tongue against the roof of my mouth and raised an eyebrow with a smirk. Everyone, keep the party going, I'm out. I strode toward the door. Li Xiaoqiao let out a sharp cry. Qingzhou, if she's gone, who's going to cover for me? Boo-hoo. Gu Qingzhou quickly stepped in front of me to block. His face darkened. I can let it slide when you throw a little tantrum now and then, with so many young masters from wealthy families here. If you just walk out and offend them, what will happen to Xiaoqiao? What will happen to the Gu family? I looked up at him. It was still that handsome face, but it felt completely unfamiliar. Seeing that I didn't speak, Gu Qingzhou grabbed my hand and said, each word slow and deliberate, Ah Su, if you don't finish these for Xiaoqiao today, we're breaking up. His eyes exude unrestrained confidence. Li Xiaoqiao covered her mouth with a giggle as she explained to the groomsmen, over the past year, every time Qingzhou brought up breaking up, Aksu would give in. She really can't live without Qingzhou, but no wonder, she said, her gaze at me dripping with undisguised contempt. Given your background, Qingzhou is already the best you could ever latch onto. I sighed and glanced at my phone, sincerely negotiating. Gu Qingzhou, let's break up an hour later. Okay, I added, in 1 hour, it'll be our 1-year anniversary. When it comes to the test for a successor, I have no choice but to compromise and make concessions to retain them. Gu Qingzhou looked like he had expected as much. I knew you couldn't bear to break up with me, baby. I can't either. That line just now was just a little trick to keep you in check. His brow relaxed as he took my hand and placed it over his heart. Even though I helped Xiaoqiao today, you're the only one in my heart, I promise you. As long as you do this little favor for Xiaoqiao, I won't break up with you. No wonder he's so confident. Last week, Li Xiaoqiao, right in front of me, used drunkenness as an excuse to kiss Gu Qingzhou, and then, with a smile, she said that when she was young, she had once played his little finger hook. One of them said, if there was anything between Qingzhou and me, we would have gotten together long ago. Another one said, Asu, she and I are just buddies. It's really not what you think. But I still didn't bring up breaking up at that time. Everyone thought I was hopelessly in love with Gu Qingzhou. At the thought of this, I cursed the old man 800 times over in my mind. He also regretted the bet he had made back then. I said. Zhou Feng lost his patience and kicked over the crystal display stand in the center of the hotel room. His ferocious demeanor sent chills down everyone's spines. Have you two made up your minds yet? Who's going to finish these games? Li Chiaoqiao tugged at Gu Qingzhou's sleeve, on the verge of tears. She didn't need to say another word. Gu Qingzhou, feeling sorry for her, handed over a tissue, casting a glance that carried a hint of warning. Asu, go finish the game for Qiao Qiao right now. 1 second late, and we're done. The bet cannot be lost at the last moment. When I looked up again, only a docile, fake smile remained on my face. Okay, I'll go. Li Chiaoqiao let out a sigh of relief and went live. Hey everyone, I'm live streaming my wedding for you. Yeah, that's the heir of the Zhou family, the eldest son who loves thrill-seeking the most in their circle, handsome, right, and the rest of our groomsmen are just as powerful and good-looking. That's why my bridesmaid was so eager to jump in and play those games. The comments are all hate. Isn't that the girl who showed up in Chiaoqiao's livestream last time, the one who's young Master Gu's girlfriend? I remember she was just a delivery girl, not content with scheming her way to Master Gu. She had to steal the spotlight at someone else's wedding. Gold digger's gonna gold dig, but she picked the wrong target this time. Young Master Zhou is known in the circle as a ruthless player who cares more about his games than any woman. Of all the men she could have gone after, she had to pick young Master Zhou, who doesn't even flinch at the sight of blood. I glanced at the barrage comments, then looked at Zhou Feng. I simply cannot connect him with that person who cowered like a quail in front of me. I plopped down on the chair and reached out my hand. Just test it. The bodyguard hooked me up to a lie detector. Li Chiaoqiao suddenly spoke up. Master Zhou, you don't know her well enough. Let me do the questioning. She turned her back to the phone, lowering her voice. After all, you'd like to see her wet herself on the spot from the electric shock, wouldn't you? Zhou Feng lounged lazily on the sofa, a cigarette dangling from his lips, waved a hand in agreement. Li Chiaoqiao gave a gentle, tender smile. First question, have you ever killed a small animal, like a pet? I mean, after thinking it over, I nodded and readily admitted it. Been there. I was bombarded with insults in the bullet comments. This woman is vicious. She even kills pets, and look at her expression, she couldn't care less. Gu Qingzhou's eyes could not hide his disappointment. Ah Su, I never thought you were this kind of person. Zhou Feng, on the other hand, became intrigued. Why kill it? I opened my mouth and said, to save lives. Zhou Feng pressed further. What kind of pet is it? It's an alpha wolf, can be kept abroad. I happily brought it back to raise in the manor, but on the very first day, it tried to devour the delivery guy. I slit its throat with a single knife stroke, but I can't let that detail slip. If I do, Zhou Feng might start doubting my identity. After my coming-of-age ceremony, I was sent abroad to expand the market. I have passed the test of a family heir with flying colors, but given that I once turned the Beijing circle upside down, the old man still thinks I'm unsettled at heart. It just so happened that I was dating Gu Qingzhou at the time, and I even started delivering food as a side gig to experience life. He proposed adding a temporary test. If you can avoid breaking up with him and keep your true identity hidden for a year, you win. Only then is one worthy of becoming the heir of the Xing family. So, within that year I was always gentle and considerate with Gu Qingzhou, terrified that he might break up with me. He and his childhood buddies all thought I was head over heels for him. I once liked him, but a man with a rotten spirit deserves only to be cast out of my heart. I shook my head. Let's skip the details. Li Chiaoqiao, with red-rimmed eyes, is stirring up drama. Even if a cat or dog tries to bite, a few swats should be enough. How could you torture and kill a pet? Ah Su, you're truly heartless. In the livestream chat, netizens were outraged. Dox her. I can't stand it. If someone like this delivers food, what if they get a bad review and take revenge on society? I support doxing. I'll go dump manure at her doorstep. Meeting Li Chiaoqiao's clearly provocative gaze and Gu Qingzhou's vaguely pained look, I got it instantly. Li Chiaoqiao schemed her way into the elite circles of Beijing's high society, but she can't stand to see me and Gu Qingzhou living a peaceful life together, taking this opportunity to make me look bad. But she doesn't know that I've long stopped caring about this relationship. Second question, a smile curled at the corners of Li Chiaoqiao's lips. Is it true that on your birthday, you faked a pregnancy to force Qingzhou into buying you a necklace worth over 300,000 yuan, yet planned to give him nothing but a wooden box for his birthday? Deny it, get shocked. Admitting and confirming her identity as a gold digger will inevitably make netizens even more furious. This is Li Chiaoqiao's plan. I gave a slow smile and nodded. Indeed, as expected, the comments section exploded. Wait, let me ask, she and Gu Qingzhou are worlds apart in status. Okay, I get that, but she can't even afford something that costs a few $100. She's definitely going to say she made that wooden box herself, isn't she, Mr. Goo? Why don't you open your eyes and take another look? I can at least gift you something worth $1,000 in return. Li Chaoqiao stepped forward and shoved the phone right in my face. Look, everyone, this gold digger doesn't feel the least bit ashamed. Why should I be embarrassed? That's no ordinary wooden box. Inside is our Shing family's special token. Holders can leverage the Shing family's protection to navigate the business world unimpeded. The Gu family's empire is on the verge of collapse, and this is their only chance to survive. A flicker of anger appeared in Gu Qingzhou's dark eyes. Ah Su, Qiao overheard you on the phone talking about birthday gifts and said you're after my family's money. I still didn't think you were that kind of person. I can't believe I gave you a necklace worth over 300,000, yet you can't even bear to part with something that costs a few $100. I tapped my fingers on the desk and added, we were originally going to give out wooden boxes, but that's no longer happening. We'll break up later. I don't give a damn about him going home to die. Besides, that necklace, I said with a half smile, looking at him, you know the situation better than I do, don't you? They're tearing me apart in the livestream right now, and you're not saying a word to defend me. Gu Qingzhou's face turned pale, then green in the end. He just mumbled vaguely, that's all in the past, why bring it up again? A few harsh words won't kill you. I didn't say anything more. It's not time yet. I'm afraid that if this comes to light now, Gu Qingzhou will fly into a rage and break up with me again. Not worth it. My 2 consecutive questions only succeeded in getting me cursed out by netizens. Zhou Feng grew impatient, having not seen the electrocution scene. Alright, this gold digger's a coward. Everything she said was the truth. Boring. If you're going to play, go big. He clapped his hands. The bodyguards carried over a large crate covered with black cloth. There was a rustling sound coming from inside. Seeing the panicked expressions on everyone's faces, Zhou Feng felt a surge of satisfaction and flicked his right hand. Colorful little snakes are densely piled up at the bottom. He gave a knowing smile. Have you decided, the bride or the bridesmaid, who goes in first? The crowd let out a gasp. The guests all stepped back in unison. Li Chaoqiao's face turned deathly pale. She looked at Gu Qingzhou, her eyelashes fluttering. Qingzhou, I'm scared. Gu Qingzhou's right hand instinctively reached out to embrace her shoulder, but perhaps thinking of the crowd, he withdrew it. Don't be afraid. Gu Qingzhou opened his mouth and said with difficulty, Master Zhou, could you spare us this game of crawling into the snake box? For the sake of our father's friendship. Zhou Feng walked forward a few steps with his hands in his pockets and smiled, trying to negotiate with me. The very next second he kicked Gu Qingzhou hard in the knee. You fucking deserve this. Cold sweat broke out on Gu Qingzhou's forehead but didn't dare to show even a hint of temper. In the live stream, many netizens expressed their confusion. Aren't they all rich heirs? Why does Gu Qingzhou act like a total pushover? There are tiers within elite circles too. The Zhou family is at the very top. How could the Gu family compare? Otherwise, why do you think Li Chaoqiao went out of her way to marry into the Pei family instead of settling for Gu Qingzhou? Gu Qingzhou struggled to his feet, forcing a smile, his tone humble. Mr. Zhou is right. I'm not worthy of negotiating with you. His eyes landed on me, a tangled mix of conflict and pain flickering within them. Finally, clenching his teeth, he said, then let the bridesmaid go into the snake pit. I'm not surprised by this result. He always says I'm his favorite, but it's just lip service. Yet every time she chose Li Chaoqiao, I stood up and stared fixedly at Gu Qingzhou. The time on my phone has just reached that moment. Gu Qingzhou, we're breaking up. The words fell, and for a moment, the room was silent. Even the barrage comments paused for a moment. Did I hear that right? That gold digger actually took the initiative to break up with Gu Qingzhou, playing hard to get, or maybe she set her sights on Zhou Feng, who's richer. Once Gu Qingzhou actually agrees, that gold digger will definitely cry her eyes out trying to keep him. Gu Qingzhou snapped out of his shock. He growled, do you think that just because you broke up with me, Zhou Feng or his groomsmen will take an interest in you? You're just a delivery guy. Can't you see where you stand? I watched him fuming with rage. I couldn't be bothered to say another word. I walked straight out the door. Li Chaoqiao blocked my way. I leisurely crossed my arms and watched her with a cold, detached gaze. Just now, Gu Qingzhou threatened to break up with me to make me play with this lie detector. Now that I've already broken up with him, what are you planning to threaten me with? A few scattered comments floated across the screen. So it wasn't that she was actively trying to steal the spotlight, she was forced to. Why didn't she break up with him earlier? Isn't it just because she can't bear to let go of Gu Qingzhou's family background? Li Chiaqiao flashed a confident smile. As if victory was already in her grasp, she snatched my bag and turned it upside down in one swift motion. Wooden boxes, skincare products, and tissues scattered on the floor. The most eye-catching item was an expensive bracelet. She cried out, "Asu, I asked you to be my bridesmaid, but you took the chance to steal my diamond bracelet." Then, in a voice so low that only I could hear, she threatened, "If you don't want to be accused of theft, now, be a good little one and hop into the snake box of your own accord." Okay. I watched this smug woman with an amused look and suddenly spoke up. "Li Chiaqiao, from what I've heard, you made quite a sacrifice to marry into the Pei family, but why couldn't you just cherish it? Why did you have to go and mess it all up?" Li Chiaqiao frowned and said, "What do you mean by that?" A handsome figure walked in through the door. "What are you two up to? The wedding ceremony is about to start. Why are you still upstairs and not coming down?" Li Chiaqiao spotted the newcomer and rushed over with a coy expression. "Honey, we were just playing a game. It was Master Zhou's idea. And I didn't want to spoil the fun for your childhood friend." Pei Shu pulled his arm back from her grasp, his voice cold and indifferent. "You only have 5 minutes, make it quick." He walked into the room and lounged on the sofa with Zhou Feng, an imposing presence. I was slightly taken aback. The little snot-nosed kid who used to follow me around had completely transformed. Pei's gaze is even more intimidating than Zhou Feng's. What did you expect? Zhou Feng is all about having fun and chasing thrills, but Pei, who's been running the Pei group for years and has fought his way through the business world, he's a whole different league. Li Chiaqiao, eager to curry favor with Zhou Feng, urged, "Asu, didn't you just say you'd get into the snake pit voluntarily if I dropped the matter? What are you waiting for?" All eyes were on me. I tilted my head and let out a soft chuckle. "Pei, you dog, and Zhou, you fatso, after all these years, is this how you welcome me? Take off the mask." I smashed my black-rimmed glasses onto the ground. The two who had just been looking down on everyone with an overwhelming gaze suddenly shot up from the sofa, their pupils instantly contracting. "Xingxiu," two voices, speaking in unison, nearly breaking. I raised an eyebrow. "What's the matter? Looks like I'm not exactly welcome here." "No, no, no, no." The two of them shook their heads in perfect sync, as if they'd rehearsed it. Zhou Feng's face lit up with a beaming smile as she handed me a glass of warm water. "Sister Su, have some water." Pei Shu picked up a tissue and meticulously wiped the sofa. "Sister Su, you've been standing for a while and must be tired. Have a seat. This is how they used to treat me." I'm used to it, but everyone else was frozen in place. It took Li Chiaqiao a long moment to find her voice. "Honey, you call her Sister Su. Is that Sister Su you mentioned before, the one who beat you up for over a decade?" As she spoke, her voice was already choked with tears. The despair in her tone was unmistakable. When Pei Shu turned to face her, his tone turned cold again. "Watch your language. What do you mean beat? That's Sister Su teaching us clueless kids to grow up right." The barrage went wild. Is this really Pei Shu, not an AI? When have you ever heard him sound so sycophantic? It's just like my little brother in front of me, total sibling dominance. And as for Zhou Feng, if he had a tail, it would be wagging by now, wouldn't it? Gu Qingzhou was the most bewildered of all, frozen in place as if someone had hit the pause button. "Xing." His eyes lit up with a burst of joy as brilliant as fireworks. The Xing family, the top of the elite circles in Beijing." Gu Qingzhou hurried over and said reproachfully, "Asu, why did you hide such important information so deep? This is perfect. I'll take you home to meet my parents today, and I'm sure they'll give us their blessing on the spot." Half a year into our relationship, I met Gu Qingzhou's mother once. She ordered takeout specifically. At the party, everyone arrived dressed to the nines. I was in my delivery uniform, sweat plastering my hair to my forehead in the scorching heat. As I hurriedly handed her the takeout, she didn't take it. Instead, she looked me up and down and let out a cold snort. Some girls dream of climbing the social ladder overnight. Their little tricks might fool my naive son, but as long as I don't give the green light, don't even think about marrying into the Gu family. Keep the takeout for yourself. Consider it a gift. When Gu Qingzhou learned about this, he held me in his arms and apologized remorsefully. For a long time back then, I actually thought he was genuinely remorseful, but last week, I accidentally overheard him bringing it up with his childhood friends. I deliberately told my mom about her existence, so my mom could give her a subtle warning. That way, it wouldn't affect our relationship, and she wouldn't get any funny ideas. A delivery driver, we're not from the same social class. Dating is fine, but if we actually got married, where would I even put my face? I pressed play on my phone as he listened to that passage. Gu Qingzhou's expression shifted repeatedly. He dropped to his knees with a thud, tears hitting the floor. Ah Su, it was my fault, I shouldn't have said those things to you just to save face. Can you forgive me? Please forgive this damn vanity of mine as a man. I crossed my legs, looking down at his terrified expression, enunciating every word. No good. Gu Qingzhou's expression grew increasingly panicked. He raised his hand and slapped himself hard across the face. A crisp slap echoed through the room. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. I'll do anything if you can forgive me. Su, please, I'm begging you to forgive me. A small number of viewers in the bullet comments were moved. Is this the classic chasing the wife through fire trope? With Gu Qingzhou's looks and that kneeling posture, Sister Su should just forgive him. Get a grip, people upstairs. Gu Qingzhou clearly found out about Sister Su's true identity. That's why he's willing to grovel and use a sob story to win her back. That's right, Xing Su is the sole heir of the Xing family, and that's just her father's side. Her mother's family is even bigger. How else do you think Xing Su can beat up so many spoiled rich kids without facing any consequences? Pei Shu muttered under his breath. We chose to get beaten up. It really has nothing to do with our family background. At that moment, a comment popped up. I have a question. Since Sister Su is actually the eldest daughter of the Xing family, why did she ask Gu Qingzhou to give her a necklace worth over 300,000 yuan? Others also found it puzzling. Zhou Feng scratched his head. Sister Su, at your coming-of-age ceremony, I gave you that auction necklace, and you didn't even give it a second glance. Why would you take the initiative to ask him for something so cheap? I shot a glance at Gu Qingzhou. Still not talking, Gu Qingzhou's head was almost bowed to the ground. He stammered, that necklace, my mom had her eye on it, but the Gu family's cash flow hit a snag, and my dad wouldn't approve any major expenses, so she lied to my dad, saying that Aksu was carrying the eldest grandson of the Gu family. My dad thought Asu was serious about threatening to abort the baby if he didn't buy the necklace, so he sent me the money. As for the necklace, I gave it to my mom. The barrage of comments was overwhelming. Everyone is standing up for me. So you got the reputation of being generous, your mom got the necklace, and Sister Su got called a gold digger. Take Sister Su away, scumbag, stay back. Since there's more to the necklace story, there must be more to Sister Su killing the pet too. That's right, the eldest Miss Xing's track record is there for all to see. She beat up so many spoiled brats back in the day, and not one of them was wrongly accused. She wouldn't kill a pet for no reason. Li Chaoqiao saw this, and perhaps her mind went blank, blurting it out without thinking. I heard it with my own ears. She clearly said on the phone that she slit that pet's throat. Pei Shu said coldly. Li Chaoqiao, I let the drugging incident slide, but if you dare spread rumors about Sister Su, you'll have to face the consequences yourself. It was as if Li Chaoqiao had only just realized the vast difference in their statuses now, with their positions reversed. Stepping back a few paces, he shrank his head and cowered. I took out my phone. There's surveillance footage, you can see for yourselves. Oh yeah, it even made the North American newspapers back then. Feel free to look it up if you're interested. In the surveillance footage, the delivery driver had just placed the package at the door. A wolf suddenly burst out from the backyard, a broken chain dangling from its neck. It pounced on the courier, knocking him to the ground, its sharp teeth aiming straight for his throat. I leaped and kicked it in the head, then drew my blade and slit its throat in one fluid motion. Blood splattered expressionlessly. I sheathed my blade. As you can see, it wants to devour people, and I am here to save them. The room fell silent once more. The barrage of comments was filled with exclamation marks. That's a wolf. How fast did this girl kill it? How long did it take? How long? Can I just say, I don't even gut fish that fast. Upstairs, forget about gutting fish. I'm not even that smooth with a blade in a video game. Pei Shu, unfazed by this, curled his lips into a smile and praised. Sister Su, your knife skills have reached a whole new level. Zhou Feng looked as if he was basking in reflected glory. Now you know why Sister Su is called the Queen of the Beijing Circle, right? The fear in Li Chaoqiao's eyes as she looked at me was almost overflowing. Gu Qingzhou wasn't much better off either. The wariness in his eyes was almost tangible, but soon, as if something crossed his mind, he swiftly switched to a deeply affectionate tone. Asu, I finally realize how impressive you are out there. But in front of me, you always act like a gentle little woman, sweet and considerate, afraid that I might break up with you. He took my hand and said in a soft voice, when you said we should break up earlier, it was out of spite, wasn't it? It was all my fault before, always threatening to break up, pushing you to do things you didn't like. I promise you, I'll never bring up breaking up with you again, okay? I furrowed my brow tightly. Who gave them that confidence? Zhou Feng and Pei Shu immediately blew their tops. Like hell, it's good, I'll beat the crap out of you. That being said, but the unruly young masters of the Beijing elite circle still glanced at my expression. Zhou Feng clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned white, wanting to throw a punch but not daring to. Sister Su, you're not actually into that type of guy, are you? Pei Shu looked up pitifully and asked, Sister Su, I'll find you a dozen top male models later, all with this look. Can you let us beat him up? I said helplessly. My grandfather demanded that I can't break up or reveal my true identity for a year, only then would it count as having a stable temperament. The moment he swapped spit with Li Chaoqiao right in front of me, I decided to leave. So, if you want to hit, just hit. I spread my hands. As you wish. Zhou Feng rolled over and jumped off the sofa. He grabbed Gu Qingzhou by the collar and raised his fist, whether intentionally or not, every blow aimed for the face. Hit and output at the same time. You fake-ass pretty boy playing the devoted lover. Cut the act. You just made Sister Su crawl into the snake pit for your girl, bro. Just looking at you pisses me off. You were damn lucky to have landed Sister Su. After the beating, Zhou Feng tossed Gu Qingzhou to the ground, then leaned in close to me and explained cautiously, Sister Su, I've really changed. The reason I messed with the snake box today is because Li Chaoqiao drugged Pei Shu to get pregnant and climb up the ladder. I was so pissed off that I wanted to teach her a lesson. The comments are flooding in again. Li Chaoqiao has been marketing the idea that Pei Shu is deeply in love with her. Turns out she's the gold digger. I'm so over it. Ever since she got involved with Pei Shu, she's been mentioning him in almost every single video. I've had a bad feeling about this for a while now. The point is, she was swapping spit with Gu Qingzhou just last week. How glorious Li Chaoqiao was when she first started livestreaming. How embarrassing it is right now. The phone was snatched by the other groomsmen and they started livestreaming right at her face. Come take a look at this scheming girl. Just a moment ago, she was accusing our Sister Su of having no shame. Let's see if she feels any shame now that she's been exposed herself. Li Chaoqiao lifted her wedding dress hem with one hand while shielding her face with the other. Stop filming. Turn off the livestream. Turn it off. She turned to Pei Shu for help, tears streaming down her face. Honey, say something for me. Pei Shu let out a cold ha. Everything the netizens said is true. You. His gaze suddenly froze, landing on that wooden box. Pei Shu kicked the balloon aside and strode toward Li Chaoqiao. Li Chaoqiao thought he had come to back her up, her eyes brimming with excitement. Honey, you're so good to me. But Pei Shu's eyes were vacant as he carefully picked up the wooden box from the ground. Sister Su, the wooden box from the Xing family. I nodded. With all the chaos earlier, after she falsely accused me of stealing her diamond bracelet, I just forgot to pick it up. The comments section is lively again. What's this wooden box? Looks like Mr. Pei really treasures it. Huh, the Xing family's wooden box is definitely no ordinary item. Li Chaoqiao was puzzled and suspicious. Isn't this just an ordinary box? Just a regular box. Pei Shu narrowed his cold eyes. How utterly foolish. With a light tap of his finger, the wooden box transformed into a token in just a few breaths. This is the Xing family token. The bearer is entitled to permanent priority signing rights in any partnership with any company under the Xing group. At this point, Pei Shu's tone carried a hint of grievance. Sister Su, after all these years of friendship, how come you didn't give me one too? Zhou Feng bounced over again, took the token, examined it from all angles, and then looked even more aggrieved. Then Pei Shu, Sister Su, you were actually planning to give such a good thing to Gu Qingzhou. Gu Qingzhou staggered a few steps, his face bruised and swollen, her voice trembled. Su, what you originally planned to give me was the Xing family token. I took back the token. That was what you thought when you saved me from drowning last week. Times have changed. I ruthlessly shattered his illusions. If it weren't for Grandpa's bet, I'd have slapped both you and Li Chaoqiao so hard at the last gathering that you'd spin 360. Gu Qingzhou's straight back gradually bent down, his hands hung limply at his sides, trembling slightly. Close call. That bastard Gu Qingzhou almost got to live the good life. Even a few crumbs from the Xing family's table would elevate the Gu family by at least a tier. What a relief. I put the token back into my bag and got ready to go home. Happy wedding. I'm out of here first. Pei, you dog. The Pei family has had a single heir for 9 generations. so I won't use my influence to stop Pei Shu from getting married, but the one who messes with me I won't let it go easily. I waved my hand, exchanged a glance with Li Chiaoqiao, and brushed past her. She flinched back like a startled deer. A faint smile curled at the corner of my mouth. Li Chiaoqiao, there's plenty of time for us. The next day, I had my lawyer organize all the dirt I had collected on Li Chiaoqiao, send it at the right moment. No sooner had he finished his instructions than Pei Shu's phone rang. Sister Su, I heard you're digging up dirt on Li Chiaoqiao. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, reaching out to touch the sunlight streaming in. Are you pleading for your new wife? A rustling sound came from Pei Shu's end, like accidentally kicking over a glass on the coffee table out of excitement. What new wife pleading for mercy? I never married her. Oh, I was a bit surprised. She's carrying your child. Will your grandfather and father agree to this? Pei Shu's voice sounded a bit muffled. I took a beating as punishment, and they agreed. You know what happened? I offered Li Chiaoqiao some money to get an abortion, but she flat out refused. My guys had to drag her there, and that's when we found out she wasn't even pregnant. Pei Shu clenched his teeth and said, I got beaten for nothing. I couldn't help but laugh. Who would have thought that Mr. Pei, who managed to double the Pei Group stock price in just 1 year, could be so careless about this matter? Pei Shu let out a deep sigh. It's just because I thought you weren't coming back. I figured one wife's as good as another, so what difference did it make? He spoke these words very softly. I didn't catch that, so when I asked again, Pei Shu changed the subject. Anyway, I'm not letting Li Chiaoqiao off the hook, especially since she crossed you too. Sister Su, you've been delivering food for a whole year. That's exhausting. Take a break. I'll handle these little matters. I politely declined. No, I never let others settle my scores. After hanging up, Zhou Feng sent a message. Sister Su, I've already put the word out. Anyone who cooperates with the Gu family is going against the Zhou family. I didn't reply. I just opened other messages. The spoiled young masters and ladies of Beijing's elite circle, whom I once taught a lesson, threw a welcome party for me when they heard I was back. They even set up a group chat. The group is called Sister Su and Her Little Followers. Sends red packets at the slightest disagreement. Later, the group kept growing. Someone curiously asked, why do you still love Sister Su so much even after she beat you up? This remark got everyone talking. I deserved that beating. I was young back then and put preservatives in my dad's drinking water. Sister Su would scold me but then clean up my mess. That project I lost because I drank too much was almost snatched away by the illegitimate son in the family, but Sister Su helped me get it back. Sister Su, help me. 1 month after taking over the family business, I'm leaving the corporate building. A woman was kowtowing to me, her head thudding heavily against the ground. A familiar voice, laced with regret. Miss Sheng, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please, make them stop targeting me. I can't even find a normal job anymore. Li Chiaoqiao looked up, her eyes swollen like walnuts. After you posted the dirt on me, I can't get any ad deals anymore. I tried to find a job, but every place I went, I was rejected. Later, I found out that the young masters and misses had made it clear, anyone who hires me is going against them. What company would dare to offend so many powerful tycoons at the same time? I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Please, have mercy on me. I never intended to wipe them out completely. She lost millions of followers overnight and was subsequently completely banned by the platform. I've already learned my lesson. Sure, Li Chiaoqiao probably didn't expect me to be so agreeable. Once it sank in, all she could do was thank me over and over again. Later, when I was inspecting the branch store, I ran into Gu Qingzhou and his mother. He was wearing a crumpled suit, while his mother struggled to tuck the dress's price tag inside with her right hand. I glanced at the latest group chat messages on my phone. The Gu family has gone bankrupt. Gu Qingzhou has to drink with clients and run business every day. His mother has no money but still wants to save face. She doesn't even cut the tags off her clothes, just wears them and returns them. Their argument with the mall sales clerk was clearly audible. You're running a promotion today at 3,900 yuan, but I bought it last month for over 4,000. You have to refund the difference, or I'll file a complaint against you. What's wrong with 200 bucks? That's enough to feed us for a week. Where's the manager? Get him over here. Give us our money back. I accidentally made eye contact with them. Gu Qingzhou stood frozen in place. His mother's eyes lit up, and she stepped forward a few paces. But upon seeing the bodyguards behind me, they stopped in their tracks and could only watch from a distance. They looked both timid and envious. I averted my gaze. Energy is a finite light, illuminating only the main channel. My course, however, is the brand new, more brilliant Qing empire that is yet to be built. Story 2. Marvin and I were childhood sweethearts. I had a stepfather, and he had a stepmother. We grew up relying on each other. He said he liked wandering, so I accompanied him on his travels. I thought we would be together forever until I saw with my own eyes Marvin, shirtless, bending over to pick up another woman's underwear in that shabby rented room. I asked him why, but he didn't answer. He just told the woman to get dressed and leave. After a long time, he said that he wanted freedom and I was the biggest obstacle to his freedom. The day he left, I gave him a kite. I said, "I wish you freedom." I had imagined many scenarios of my reunion with Marvin. What I least expected was that it would happen in such a situation. The hospital called me using Marvin's phone, saying that he had been in a car accident and asking if I could go to the hospital. That's when I learned that Marvin had somehow returned to this city. In this bustling metropolis, even the streets in the early morning were still full of traffic. I rushed to the hospital, inquired about Marvin's hospital bed number, and hurried over. It was a not too spacious single room. A woman with a good figure stood by the bed, with her back to me, her tone coquettish. "Marvin, I'm the first one to come and visit you. I'm good to you, aren't I?" "Yeah, you're the best to me." When I heard that familiar voice, I stood there blinking and retracted the hand that was about to push open the door. Marvin and I hadn't been in touch for a few years. When we broke up, it almost broke my heart, but time is always a good medicine to soothe the heart. Now, when I think of him again, I rarely feel emotional, but when I suddenly heard that familiar voice again, I realized that maybe I didn't stop loving him, it's just that the feelings were too heavy, and I forcibly sealed them away. I didn't dare to enter the ward. I asked the nurse for Marvin's hospital admission number and paid his hospitalization fee for him. After leaving the hospital, I parked the car by the roadside and smoked for a long time. I had been a good student and an obedient girl since I was a child. Smoking was the only bad habit I inherited from Marvin, and I learned it after breaking up with him. In recent years, the work pressure has been getting greater and greater, so my smoking addiction has also become stronger and stronger. After smoking half a pack of cigarettes, my mind was not cleared. Instead, I was choked by the last puff of smoke and coughed violently. How embarrassing. I leaned against the steering wheel and smiled bitterly. Logically speaking, I should have appeared in front of Marvin looking fresh and beautiful, and said casually, "Long time no see," but I didn't even dare to take a look at what he looked like now. I fled at the mere sound of his voice. Maybe I'm a bit pathetic. My favorite thing is to offer my sincere heart only to have it trampled on. I secretly went to see Marvin a few more times later and also asked his attending doctor about his condition. Marvin's ward was very lively. Whenever I went, there were always people by his bedside, chatting away, either men or women. This was also something I expected. Marvin had been popular since he was a child. Wherever he went, those people would quickly gather around him and form a circle with him at the center. He had always been the focus of attention. The last time I went to see the attending physician, the doctor rubbed his temples with a bit of a headache. "Actually, the patient in bed 2 is not seriously injured at all. It's just a minor fracture and a mild concussion, and he's recovering well now. I know you all care about him, but could you please send a representative to ask about his condition? Otherwise, I have to repeat the same thing 5, 6, 7, or 8 times a day." Doesn't it also affect other patients' families from consulting about their conditions? I didn't dare to say that I wasn't actually a family member of the patient. I could only apologize repeatedly and back out of the doctor's office. Then I had a face-to-face encounter with Marvin, who was taking a walk in the corridor. There were 3 people with him. One was holding a drip bottle, one was supporting his arm, and the other was following slowly beside him. It was quite like he was being surrounded and adored like the moon by the stars. I even heard Marvin say in a very disgruntled tone, "I'm injured, not disabled. Could you please let go of me? I can walk by myself." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw me. I just hated that the corridor in the hospital was too spacious, making my panic and unease impossible to hide. I stood there in a daze for a while, and finally, I was the first to speak. "Long time no see, Marvin. Who is this?" Marvin looked at me with a calm expression. "A fellow villager. You two look so affectionate. I thought she was your ex-girlfriend." Marvin and I had depended on each other for more than 20 years. I had worn his only down jacket, and he had worn my only scarf. We had shared a plate of fried rice with eggs and slept in the same bed. Now, we were just fellow villagers. I clenched my phone tightly and turned around to leave. Marvin stopped me. "Wait a moment." He asked me if I had paid his hospitalization fee. "I saw the call record with you on my phone. It was the hospital that called you, right?" Marvin said. "You're still using that bank card, right?" I'll transfer the money to you directly." "No need," I refused. "If anyone should transfer money, it should be me transferring it to you." Marvin paused. "I feel quite embarrassed that I spent so much of your money back then. Give me a bank card number, and I'll pay you back." Upon hearing this, Marvin's friend laughed. "You're only thinking about paying it back after all these years, so insincere. Then how much interest are you going to pay?" Marvin glared at that person with a cold expression. "Don't pay attention to him," Marvin said. "There's no need to pay it back." I scratched my head and said, "It should be paid back." In the past, I had no psychological burden when using Marvin's money. When he bought things for me, I accepted them as a matter of course. At that time, I thought we were a family, his money was mine, and when I earned money in the future, it would naturally be his too. But since we had separated, the financial transactions should be settled clearly. Marvin didn't give me his bank card number, but I still went to the bank to get the transaction statement. The next day, I mustered up the courage and went to the hospital with the bank card. But in Marvin's ward, there was no one there, and the room was empty. In fact, I knew that Marvin definitely wouldn't accept the money. I just wanted to find an excuse to come and see him again, but he didn't leave me even the slightest chance. Once he noticed my presence, he disappeared without a trace again. Sometimes I couldn't help but wonder what exactly I had done wrong. I had never been hysterical or made a big scene with him. To what extent did he dislike me that he avoided me like the plague? Compared to a woman who plays with people's hearts, men actually hate the kind of love-obsessed person who endures everything and is like a piece of chewing gum that can't be shaken off and is disgusting when sticking around. In the bar, my friend drained the mixed drink in her glass in one gulp and poked my forehead with her finger. "I'm talking about you, the love-obsessed one. Sometimes I really want to open up your brain and see what its structure is like. How can you be so infatuated with a man who is as bad as he is, and never change your mind?" I held the wine glass and seriously refuted her. "First, I'm not love-obsessed, except for Marvin. I've never loved any other man in my life. Second, Marvin is not a bad person, he's really nice." My friend rolled her eyes in disgust. "Really? I thought you would be at least a little more sensible after all these years. I didn't expect that. You haven't changed at all. There's no hope for you. I suggest just burying you alive." I smiled and didn't refute her anymore. Every one of my friends had scolded me for being irrational. I had also explained to every friend that I wasn't being irrational. I clearly knew what I was doing. I wasn't love-obsessed. Marvin had really treated me very well in the past. Every love-obsessed person says that, but look at what Marvin has done. He cheated, had an affair, and got together with another woman in the rented house you shared. He blocked your phone number when you went to beg him to get back together and waited outside the bar for a whole week. He didn't even show up. You guys don't understand. Without Marvin, I wouldn't have been able to go to college, and I might not even be alive today. I downed most of the bottle of wine in one gulp. I had developed a better tolerance for alcohol over the years, but tonight, probably because I mixed red, white, and beer, I felt a bit dizzy. I leaned on the bar counter, grabbed my friend's arm, and pointed at the male models dancing in the middle of the dance floor. The tuition fees and living expenses for my 4 years in college were all earned by Marvin dancing night after night like this. At that time, he could earn 6,000 yuan a month. 500 yuan was for the rent, 500 yuan for living expenses, and the rest of the money was all spent on me. He actually got admitted to college, but my parents didn't want to pay for my education. Marvin said that since the college he got into wasn't very good anyway, he wouldn't go to school and would go to work to support me instead. After I graduated from college, my parents wanted me to get married and earn the betrothal gift. Marvin borrowed money from all his friends around him to finally gather enough for the betrothal gift, so I'm actually Marvin's wife. He gave the betrothal gift, and I'm supposed to marry him. The music was still loud, but my friend seemed to be drunk and lay beside me without saying anything more. I was silent for a long time and then said, "So, it's actually normal that Marvin wanted to leave, right? I've been such a burden to him for so long." My friend was unconscious from drinking. I drained the remaining half bottle of wine, scanned the code to pay the bill. When I stood up, my gaze accidentally swept across the bar's entrance, and my pupils instantly dilated. It was Marvin. He was wearing a low-key black hooded sweatshirt and a mask, but I recognized him at a glance. He didn't see me and walked straight towards a lively booth. Someone cleared the central position and let him sit down. I saw Marvin take off his mask and casually take the beer that someone handed to him. Young woman smiled and leaned close to Marvin, saying something to him. Marvin nodded indifferently and casually responded, I had never been jealous before. I was so certain that I thought nothing and no one could separate me and Marvin. I was well aware of Marvin's charm, yet I was also extremely confident in his loyalty to me. When did it start? The fact that Marvin no longer loved me. I still remember that after Marvin said he wanted to break up with me, he never went back to the rented house. I went to the bar where he worked to look for him, called each of his friends, and even went to their homes to ask if they knew where Marvin had gone. I sent him a lot of messages, wanting to ask him where exactly our relationship had gone wrong and if we could have a good talk. I said I would change anything that could be changed. I said I didn't mind if he had some fun with other girls and asked him not to be angry later. I was only worried about his safety. I said he didn't have to pay attention to me, as long as he replied to my message once to let me know that he was safe. In the end, I had no other choice. At 3 o'clock in the morning, outside the bar, I sat on the steps, feeling icy cold all over, holding my phone in my hands and typing out the message word by word with my stiff fingers. I agree to the breakup, please come home, and we can deal with the house. 10 minutes later, Marvin appeared beside me. So he had been there all along. He was standing not too far away, looking at me indifferently. At that moment, I felt as if I had never really known him. The house was rented by Marvin. He said he was leaving soon and had prepaid the rent for 3 months. I could either continue living there or discuss with the landlord about terminating the lease. He left very decisively. When he left, he just carried a black backpack, which contained his wallet and identification documents. He didn't take anything else. I accompanied him downstairs. I was still wearing the couple's pajamas that we bought together when we went to the wholesale market. I handed him a small kite pendant and smiled, saying, I wish you freedom. Marvin, do you feel free enough now? Since I knew that Marvin would go to that bar, in the following days, I would go there and sit for a while every now and then. Actually, I knew very well that there was no possibility for me and Marvin anymore. Marvin was just like that. Once he made a decision, he never looked back. But I never met Marvin again. I wasn't sure if he was avoiding me, but even if he was, it wasn't too surprising. No matter who it is, being pestered by an ex-girlfriend they already find annoying probably wouldn't be very pleasant. I often sat in front of the bar counter. After coming and going several times, I got familiar with the bartender. As soon as I sat down, he would hand me a mixed drink. But tonight, just 2 minutes after I sat down, there was a sudden bang sound in my ear. I turned my head. A woman dressed in revealing clothes angrily put down the express box in her hand and said to the bartender angrily, give me a glass of vodka, miss. Who offended you this time? Who else could it be? I bought a gift for Marvin and reminded him several times. It's been sitting in the courier station in his neighborhood for so long that it's almost moldy, and he still hasn't gone to pick it up. The woman stamped her foot in anger. It's really expensive. I wouldn't even be willing to buy such an expensive watch for myself. My heart skipped a beat, and I secretly glanced at the order on the express box beside me. The address was written in great detail, down to the house number. Instead of pouring vodka, the bartender handed her a glass of sweet wine. I remember Marvin said that he doesn't accept gifts, right? It must be that it didn't hit the spot, the woman said, resting her chin in her hand and sighing mournfully. Sigh. When will I be able to win Marvin over? There are quite a few women who have the same idea as you. I can only say, good luck to you. I sat there and pretended to be curious as I asked, who are you talking about? The bartender smiled and replied, a really handsome guy. How handsome is he? Extremely handsome. The bartender was about to say something more, but was stopped by a look from the woman. I smiled awkwardly and left after paying the bill sensibly. Then I immediately took a taxi to the address on the express box. My heart was beating fast, and my palms were even slightly sweating. I told myself in my heart that I was just going to pay back the money. This was the last time. This was the last time I would indulge myself. Half an hour later, I rang the doorbell of Marvin's house. There were faint footsteps coming from behind the door. I took a deep breath and tried my best to force a natural smile on my lips. The next second, the door opened. The woman had a pair of beautiful eyes, was wearing an apron, and holding a spoon. There was a sweet smile on her face. She looked at me in confusion. Who are you looking for? Sorry, I think I've got the wrong place. My voice caught in my throat, and I couldn't say another word because I saw behind the woman, Marvin, who had just opened the bedroom door and came out shirtless. It was really strange. I had witnessed Marvin cheating before, but I wasn't as sad as I was at this moment. Maybe it was because the atmosphere of their life together was too strong, as if they had been together for a long time. I clearly realized that there was already another woman by Marvin's side. It wasn't just a physical relationship, they would also, just like we used to, share a glass of water, the same bed, and watch the sunrise and sunset together. My appearance would only be a bother to him. If I really loved him and truly wanted the best for him, I should be sensible, generous, and put down the bank card openly and then leave. But the moment I opened my mouth, I found that I could hardly make a sound. I swallowed hard and handed out the bank card. Hello, I'm Marvin's fellow villager. He lent me some money before, and I came here today specifically to pay it back. The woman turned her head and looked at Marvin. Marvin stood there. After a moment of silence, his gaze fell on me. Come in and have a seat. Actually, I shouldn't have stayed, but Marvin took a cup to pour me water and then pulled out a chair for me. The woman opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but finally frowned. Marvin, go and put on some clothes. Don't let your cold get worse. Marvin stood at the dining table looking at me. I could only lower my head and finally stepped through the door. Sorry for the intrusion. I tried very hard to restrain my gaze and didn't let myself look around randomly, afraid of seeing something that would make me even sadder, but there were still some scenes that I couldn't avoid after all. Marvin came out of the bedroom wearing a long-sleeved shirt and sat at the dining table with a low atmosphere around him. This was his typical state when he was sick. Looking at the way his lips were pursed, I guessed that he probably still had a slight fever. My fingertips twitched, and I restrained myself from clenching my hands into fists. The woman brought out a bowl of porridge from the kitchen. She carefully picked out the ginger shreds in it, peeled an egg, put the egg white on a plate, and crushed the egg yolk with a spoon and mixed it into the porridge. Marvin, give it a try. Marvin doesn't eat ginger because he dislikes the strong ginger flavor. He doesn't eat the egg white because I like it. I just felt a sharp pain in my eyes, as if tears would well up in the next second. I quickly averted my gaze. How excessive. Was it on purpose, deliberately letting me stay and witness his intimacy with someone else? Marvin didn't touch the bowl of porridge. He just casually asked me, how have you been recently? His tone was just for simple reminiscence. I looked at the woman sitting beside him, eyeing me warily. I knew that if I revealed the slightest bit of my feelings for Marvin, an argument would be inevitable. I had nothing more to give Marvin, so I should save him some trouble. Thinking of this, I clenched my fists on my knees a little tighter. A sharp pain came from the palm of my hand, but I could put on a natural smile, even with a hint of shyness on my face. Pretty good. I'm getting married soon. Upon hearing this, Marvin lifted his eyelids and stared at me. My figure was reflected in his eyes a long time ago. His eyes only had my figure in them. I took a deep breath imperceptibly and exhaled slowly. When the time comes, you two should come to the wedding banquet. Marvin wouldn't come, so I wasn't afraid of this lie being exposed. The hostility on the woman's face towards me finally disappeared, and her attention returned to Marvin. Marvin, eat quickly, or it'll get cold. I held the cup, took a sip of water with restraint, and then politely proposed to leave. Marvin also stood up. I'll see you out. Marvin, you're still sick. Let me see her out. Marvin ignored her and just followed closely behind me. He was a bit too close, crossing the safe distance between men and women. I could even smell the faint scent of soap on him. The sound of the door closing came from behind. I didn't look back and walked straight towards the elevator. Marvin's steps were unhurried, and the rhythm was still the same as before. My hand hanging by my side twitched, and I suddenly felt like smoking a cigarette. It's good that you're getting married. You should have gotten married a long time ago. Marvin coughed, and his voice was a bit hoarse. He treats you well, right? Afraid that my voice would choke up if I spoke, I could only reply in a low voice, what about you? After calming my breath a bit, I smiled and asked him, your relationship with her seems pretty good. Is it almost time for good news? The elevator door ding opened, and I quickly stepped in and pressed the close button randomly. Not even daring to listen to Marvin's answer. It was only when the elevator door was completely closed that I softly said, goodbye. This time, it was for real. Never see each other again. That night, I walked home. I walked for almost 3 hours, crying as I walked. When I got home, I was parched. I drank a large pot of water in big gulps, and then without removing my makeup or taking a shower, I buried myself in the quilt and wrapped myself up like a silkworm chrysalis because I couldn't sleep soundly. I was in a drowsy state, half asleep and half awake, and I remembered a lot of things from the past. Marvin's biological father worked on a construction site, and his stepmother treated him badly, often not giving him anything to eat. When I cooked, I would secretly save a bowl for him. When I had my first period, it was Marvin who bought me sanitary pads. When I was just developing during puberty, My stepfather often peeked at me while I was taking a shower. Later, Marvin would stay at my house on the pretext of doing his homework and leave after I finished showering. When the first KFC opened in our county, Marvin ate steamed buns for a week, saved his living expenses, and took me there to eat. When knitting was popular in high school, I stayed up for 3 nights and knitted a black and white scarf for Marvin. He took it out and wore it every winter until we broke up, and it was left in that small rented room. When we were in college, we were in the same city, but my schoolwork was very heavy, and the place where Marvin worked was far from me. Due to financial constraints, we couldn't meet often, so we made many phone calls a day except on payday. Marvin would also transfer money to me every now and then. He said it was tips from customers. When my roommates learned that I had a boyfriend who worked in a bar, they all had strange expressions. They thought I was a well-behaved girl and had nothing to do with a bar guy. Moreover, since Marvin could get tips, it was obvious that he met a lot of people from various backgrounds, and there was a good chance that he might be unfaithful. But my trust in Marvin was almost blind, and I never doubted his character. In order to prepare a birthday gift for Marvin, I took a tutoring job without telling him, saved money for a long time, and bought him a very expensive down jacket. I gave Marvin a lot of things, most of which were related to keeping warm, probably because we were so poor when we were young. Winters were always especially hard to endure. It was really difficult back then, but maybe because I knew there was someone behind me, I never felt bitter. It's just a pity that we can never go back. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I completely lost my sleepiness, so I simply got up. I bought this house last year, paid the down payment, and spent a lot of effort decorating it. Little by little, I decorated it into the way I liked. I found a storage box and started packing things up. The water cup I bought for Marvin, put it away. The bowls and chopsticks, put them away. The towel and toothbrush, put them away. The clothes that I bought while shopping and thought would suit Marvin, put them away. The box was stuffed full, and I struggled to push it into the storage room. There were still 2 boxes there, storing the bits and pieces of me and Marvin in the rented house. I'm really pathetic, I said to myself. Fortunately, this is the last time I'll be like this. I stopped going to the bar, stopped opening the storage room, and even deliberately avoided the area around the community where Marvin lived. It was my friend's birthday, and I brought a bottle of wine to celebrate. As soon as I stepped into her house, she pulled me aside mysteriously. What do you think of that person? She nodded towards the living room with her chin. I looked around. The only stranger at the scene was a man wearing rimless glasses, with a gentle and scholarly air. I smiled and nodded. He's quite handsome. He's still single. My friend smiled and asked, "Are you interested?" I smiled and shook my head, afraid that she wouldn't give up. I looked at her seriously and said, "I really don't have that kind of intention now. Don't worry, when I want to get out of being single, I'll tell you the first time." My friend could only sigh helplessly. I drank a few more sips of wine during the meal. My friend put her arm around my shoulder and sighed. "Actually, when you and Marvin broke up, we were all glad for you. You have a great future and a bright life. It would be a pity if you really spent your whole life with Marvin in an ordinary way, but seeing you like this now, I actually feel mixed emotions." I took another sip of red wine and heard my friend say, "I've seen you happy. You're not bad now, but it's just that it's inevitable to feel some regret and pity." I smiled. "What's there to be sorry about? After you reunited with Marvin, did you ever think about getting back together with him?" "No, I've had many dreams about Marvin, good, bad, and indescribable, but after reuniting with him, I never thought about getting back together with him. The most extreme thing I did was to find a poor excuse to meet him. I love him, so I don't want to force him. It doesn't matter if we don't get back together, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't love me. It doesn't matter if I'm sad or heartbroken, as long as he's well, I'm well." I drained the red wine in my glass and poured myself a full glass again, afraid that I would drink too much. My friend forcefully took away the wine glass. "That's enough. That's about it for today. Don't drink too much. You still have to go to work tomorrow." I smiled and stood up. "I'll go wash my face." Actually, my mind was quite clear, but my cheeks were a bit hot, and I needed some cold water to cool down. "Xiaojing, there's a call for you." My friend picked up the phone I left in the living room and handed it to me. I glanced at the caller ID and picked up the phone in surprise. "Senior, I can't explain it to you in a few words. I sent you a location, anyway. Just come over quickly." He said this in a rather mysterious way. After hanging up the phone, I checked the message. The location was a certain district police station. My friend leaned over. "What's going on?" "I don't know." He didn't give any explanation, just told me to go over quickly. Have you been in touch with your senior recently? No, we haven't been in touch for at least almost 2 years, but his tone sounded quite serious. Afraid that there was something wrong, I still took a taxi and rushed over. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw several familiar yet strange backs in the distance. Marvin and my senior were sitting on opposite sides of the police station hall, like the Chu River and Han border, not disturbing each other. Karen, come here. Only then did I see the colorful marks on his face. Marvin heard the voice, sat still, but also looked up at me. I was just about to ask what had happened when I saw the broken corner of Marvin's mouth. What's going on with you? Did you get into a fight again? I ran over anxiously, not daring to reach out. I could only look him up and down futilely. Are you badly injured? Do you need to go to the hospital? Karen, please take a look at me. Who needs to go to the hospital more? My senior shouted in frustration. Are you too crazy? Upon hearing this, Marvin stood up instantly with an unfriendly expression. So, someone please explain to me what exactly happened. Actually, the course of the matter was very simple. My senior was walking hand in hand with his girlfriend when Marvin saw them. He thought my senior was my fiancé and that he had betrayed me. The two of them got into an argument and ended up in the police station. My senior was purely an innocent victim implicated by me. I acted as a peacemaker in the middle, said a lot of good words to my senior, and forced Marvin to apologize before signing the mediation agreement. After walking out of the police station, my senior touched his swollen face and hissed, "Forget it. Who told me to owe you one? If you come at me like a mad dog again next time, I definitely won't let it go." Marvin just remained silent. I didn't quite understand what my senior meant. It dawned on me later. Right, how could they know each other? Marvin's work was very busy. Even with my closest roommate, he only met a few times. Theoretically, there was no possibility for him to meet my senior, but these things weren't important. After seeing my senior off, I took a taxi and was going to send Marvin home, but even though I opened the car door, Marvin stood there without moving. What's wrong? Let's go. I turned around in confusion. Karen, who is your fiancé? I forced a smile. You don't know him even if I tell you. If you tell me, I'll know him. Marvin's tone was very slow. Did you meet him in the years since we separated? His pupils stared straight at me. Find a time and invite him out so we can all meet. Is that necessary? Yes, it is necessary. I thought for a moment, smiled apologetically at the driver, closed the car door, and then turned around to look at Marvin seriously. Marvin, we've already broken up. You don't need to be responsible for my future happiness anymore. After a pause, I lowered my eyes and spoke in a soft voice. You doing this will make me misunderstand that you still have feelings for me. I might not be able to control myself and keep pestering you again. Marvin looked at me in silence. So, let's not meet then. I perked up and looked at him with a smile. Just live your own life well, but if you get married, don't send me an invitation. I don't want to give you a red envelope. It's very difficult to suppress the love for Marvin. Feelings that can only be diluted by time and distance can't withstand a reunion and the slightest bit of care. Actually, I still can't figure out when exactly you started not loving me. The fingertips hanging by my side involuntarily curled up again. I stared at Marvin intently. All changes in feelings have omens, like more arguments, the start of a cold war. I think I know your emotions quite well, but it seems that one day, you suddenly changed. You were very determined and straightforward. You said we were breaking up and didn't leave me any room for negotiation. So, I have one last question to ask you now. A trace of embarrassment flashed in Marvin's eyes, and he turned his head away, not looking at me. Have you found the freedom you wanted? If you have, can you return this to me? I pointed at the kite charm hanging on Marvin's phone. Marvin's hands were shaking. It took him a while to take off the charm and hand it to me. Thank you. This way, we're completely even. I smiled while holding the charm. I won't send you home. I'm afraid if your girlfriend sees it, it'll cause a misunderstanding. Karen, Marvin called out to me. Does your fiancé really exist? Just assume he does, and don't worry about whether he'll hurt me. I shrugged nonchalantly. There's no one who can hurt me more than you, so you can rest assured. I survived being abandoned by you. If I'm unfortunately abandoned again, I should be able to manage too. I didn't look at Marvin's expression anymore. After going home that day, I looked at the kite charm for a long time. This charm was bought in a hurry, and its quality wasn't very good. It had already started to chip, and the rope had also been changed in material and color. It wasn't the original one. I dialed my senior's phone number. From His vague words, piece by piece, I finally pieced together part of the truth of why Marvin and I broke up. My senior said that he had privately approached Marvin and shown him the videos of me participating in various competitions and parties at school. He thought Marvin wasn't good enough for me, or to be more precise, he thought that he and I were more suitable for each other than Marvin and I were. I admit that I was young and impulsive back then, and I didn't think things through when I spoke. My senior sighed. I chased you for a full 4 years, but you never even gave me a proper look, so I was a bit resentful. Later, when I heard that you and Marvin had broken up, I thought my chance had come. My senior smiled. Karen, when will you be able to accept another man in your heart? What's wrong with me compared to Marvin? You're very good, I replied sincerely. You're not worse than Marvin in any way. I do feel a bit sorry for ruining your happiness. I can tell that you still have feelings for Marvin now. As for Marvin's feelings for you, leaving aside other things, at least he has a strong sense of protectiveness towards you, but don't idealize the path you didn't take. People's hearts change easily. Since you started college, your life and Marvin's life have already diverged. You can only drift further and further apart, and you'll eventually not be on the same path. I hung up the phone. What does it mean to be on the same path? Do people with the same educational background, decent jobs, and similar social circles count as being on the same path? But after all these years, I've never thought that I'm on the same path as them. I threw the kite charm into the trash bin downstairs when I went to work the next day, but as soon as I got to the company gate, I regretted it. Sure enough, people shouldn't make any decisions when their minds aren't clear. I took 2 hours of personal leave and turned the car around to go back. The cleaning aunt hadn't come to collect the garbage yet. I rummaged through the trash bin thoroughly, but the kite charm had disappeared without a trace. I stood beside the trash bin in a daze for a while. Just as I was about to check the surveillance, I heard the ringtone of a mobile phone coming from behind me. The other person hung up quickly, but I turned my head even faster. Marvin had nowhere to hide. Meeting my gaze, he paused and put his phone in his pocket. I saw that small kite, fluttering, and back in its original place. What do you mean? For the first time since our reunion, I felt angry towards Marvin. I like it. You threw it away, and I picked it up. What's the problem? Marvin had an expressionless face. Marvin, are you crazy too? Yeah, he admitted it so readily that my emotions, which were about to flare up, stopped abruptly. I could only take a deep breath and reach out my hand to him. Give it back to me. No, give it back to me. If he wouldn't give it back, I would grab it myself. But Marvin's height was really unfair. As long as he raised his arm, I couldn't reach it even if I jumped. I gritted my teeth and retracted my hand. Fine. The next second, Marvin suddenly pulled me into his arms. A sour feeling welled up in my eyes instantly. I tried my best to open my eyes wide and asked him again in a hoarse voice, what exactly do you mean? Marvin didn't say anything. He just held me a little tighter and followed my arm with his hand. His thumb and index finger pinched the ring on my ring finger. Who gave you this ring? I choked up and bit my lower lip tightly. Why didn't you get married? Why were you waiting for me? Why did you forgive me? He kept asking why, but how could I know the reasons? I didn't know where Marvin was going, so I could only keep waiting here. I hoped that if he suddenly turned back one day, he could see me at the first glance. I was so stupid. When I was still young and naive, I foolishly opened the door of my heart and let Marvin in. The door was too narrow, and Marvin was too big. Once he moved in, he couldn't get out. Later, he chose to break the door by force and finally left, but my heart was already in tatters, and there was no way to let anyone else in. I could only guard this house full of holes and ruins, like a homeless vagrant. Marvin once said he wanted to wander. In the end, it turned out that the one who was truly wandering was myself. The storage room at home was opened again. Those things that had been put away and were meant to never see the light of day were taken out one by their real owner and placed in the right positions. Finally, Marvin took out a box and opened it. Inside, there was a men's ring lying quietly. That was a gift I hadn't had the chance to give him. I had planned it all out. I would propose half a year after graduation and get married a year later. By then, my income should have been relatively stable, and we could consider buying a house. Neither Marvin nor I had a real home. How should I put it? Although stray cats are free, they still need a place to shelter from the wind and rain. But later, all the plans were disrupted. We broke up before I had the chance to propose. Marvin said that he saw the ring on my hand the first time he met me again. At that time, he thought I was already married. Sorry. He knelt in front of me and apologized sincerely. I bit him, pulled his hair, and punched and kicked him. Unfortunately, after working as a white-collar worker for a few years, my physical strength had seriously declined. Marvin only suffered some minor skin injuries at most. While I lost my footing and fell to the ground directly, Marvin was quick to react and reached out to catch me. Becoming my human cushion, I started crying while biting his shoulder. Marvin sighed and patiently soothed my back one by one. "You've always been like this. You never ask me if I want something or not. As long as you think it's good for me. You make decisions on your own, just like when he bought me gifts. He never asked if I wanted them or liked them. He just bought them directly, so when he thought it would be better for us to break up, he didn't ask if I was willing to break up either. This habit of yours is really bad. Okay, from now on, you'll be in charge of the money. You have so many friends, even if you don't have a penny left on you. If you want to leave, you'll always find a way." Marvin held me and was silent for a long time. I almost thought he was acquiescing again when I heard him say, "I can't leave anymore. I tried once and found that I couldn't leave, so I came back. I won't believe your words anymore." I embarrassedly wiped all my tears and snot on Marvin. "I didn't believe your feelings for me before either. It's a draw, 1-1. Marvin had already put on the ring for himself. He was thinner than before the breakup, so the men's ring was a bit big on him, but it didn't matter. I could fatten him up again. Actually, Marvin and I shouldn't have made up so easily, but life is only 100 years or so, and we're almost a third of the way through. We've been apart for too long. Even if we're together every day from now on, there are only a few decades left, so I don't want to waste a single minute. On the day we made up, I had a good sleep. When I woke up, I found a pendant on my phone. It was a roll of kite string. I squinted my eyes and yawned. The body behind me was tough and elastic. The arm around my waist exerted a little more force, pulling me deeper into his arms. "What time is it?" Marvin's voice was hoarse, obviously not having slept enough. I turned over and pressed myself against him, patting his waist soothingly. "It's still early. Go back to sleep for a while." From then on, I had a good sleep every night. Marvin's side story. Marvin is good looking. When he was in kindergarten, some girls even fought over being his deskmate, but although he had many friends coming and going around him, and quite a few female friends too, he didn't seem to be close to any of the girls except for Karen. Karen is Marvin's childhood sweetheart, his neighbor, his bottom line and principal, his weakness and his armor. He would silently classify and rank everyone. Karen, wearing a crown, sat at the top of all his classifications. He had lived a hard life for many years, but he actually didn't feel bitter at all. During the years he worked in the bar, almost every night, there were people holding their phones, wanting to have a harmless flirtation with him, but he was busy making money and buying things. For Karen, how could he have the time to chat with those people? People around him all knew that he had a girlfriend studying in a prestigious university because the screen and chat background of Marvin's phone were photos of him and Karen. Some people, under the guise of caring about him, subtly reminded Marvin, fearing that after all his hard work, he would end up raising an ungrateful person. Marvin's response was to punch that person and knock out one of his teeth. He was like a wolf dog, wearing a collar, with the rope loosely in Karen's hands. When she loosened it a bit, he would curiously run a little further. When she pulled it tighter, he would obediently stick by her leg and not go anywhere. In his junior year of college, Karen represented the school in a hosting competition. Marvin secretly took a leave of absence, wanting to give Karen a surprise. Karen was wearing the light yellow dress he bought for her and was shining brightly on the stage at that moment. For no apparent reason, Marvin suddenly felt inferior. She was on the stage, and he was in the audience. Although they were only tens of meters apart, it felt as if there was a galaxy between them. When Karen graduated from her senior year of college, she had a falling out with her family. Marvin borrowed money from all his friends around him to gather the betrothal gift that Karen's parents wanted. They bought out their kinship, at the cost of having less than 1,000 yuan between the two of them, so they could only rent a very shabby house. Karen was amazing. She went to the market and bought some second-hand items. Little by little, she tidied up the house to make it livable. Marvin felt sorry for her having to endure such hardships and just wanted to swear to work harder to earn more money and let Karen live a better life. Just then, he met that man, the man who had once stood side by side with Karen on the stage, shining together. That person had an excellent family background, elegant temperament, and extraordinary conversation, which were worlds apart from Marvin. He said that if Karen stayed with Marvin, she could only live in a rented room that cost 300 yuan a month and eat boxed lunches that cost 5 yuan each. But if she were with him, Karen would have a car, a house, and a generous salary. Karen had endured so much hardship over the years. He hoped that Marvin could be sensible and take the initiative to step back. At that time, Marvin didn't have any particular thoughts. He just went home in silence and found that the door lock was broken again. This door lock often broke, and he had to discuss with the landlord to change it to a new one. As he was thinking about this, he took off his t-shirt irritably, wanting to take a shower. There were footsteps behind him. It didn't sound like Karen's rhythm, so Marvin just turned his head indifferently. It was a girl from the bar who had been chasing him for a long time. She mustered up the courage to stand in front of Marvin and took off her clothes one by one, trying to recommend herself. Marvin had encountered such things many times. These days, women seem to be very proactive when they're interested in a man. When Marvin lived in the bar dormitory before, one day after work, he found a naked woman lying on his bed. Out of love for Karen, Marvin rarely directly attacked people of the same gender as Karen like he did with men. At most, he would just ignore them, but the girl's underwear had been thrown right at his feet. He felt a bit nauseous, wanting to pick it up and throw it away, and then wash his hands. It was at this moment that Karen came back. Marvin's mind went blank for a second. He opened his mouth, wanting to explain, but didn't know how. Then, the words that had been lingering in his mind came to him. You and Karen aren't from the same world. Do you have the heart to let Karen suffer with you and watch her light gradually fade away? Before he could think it through clearly, his mouth spoke. Before his brain, he said they should break up. Once the words were actually out, his heart, which had been in a state of uncertainty, suddenly found a fulcrum. Marvin thought that he and Karen had depended on each other for 20 years, and it seemed that their fate could only end here. In order to break up cleanly, he didn't take anything. Actually, he shouldn't have taken that kite charm either, but at that time, his mind was in a daze. It had already exhausted all his energy to hold back his soft heart, and he couldn't say another word of refusal. He fled, far away and in a sorry state. After leaving Karen, his life suddenly lost its center. He had nothing to do. When his friends asked him to drink, he would go. When he drank too much, he would sit in the corner with a scowling face, looking as if he didn't want anyone to approach. Later, he thought that this wouldn't do. Karen had a gentle temper and wasn't very career-driven. What if her future in-laws disliked her because of her humble background? Thinking of this, Marvin pulled himself together, quit smoking and drinking, and started focusing on his career. He was really smart and had the ability to make money. The bar he co-owned with his friends was running well. His friend said that he wanted to open a branch and asked Marvin for suggestions on the location. Marvin answered out of reflex. It was only after he had spoken that he realized it was the city where Karen was. He had many opportunities to regret it, but the words of denial got stuck in his throat. Perhaps he had been vaguely hoping, waiting for a reasonable excuse to appear so that he could go back. When the new store opened, Marvin was busy with everything. Actually, he didn't need to do everything himself, but being busier and more tired allowed him to better control the urge to keep tabs on Karen. Unfortunately, it seemed that he had overworked himself. Soon after the new store opened, as soon as he relaxed a bit, he had a car accident. The first thing he did when he woke up was to look at his phone. He had a good memory, and there were no names in his contact list. Only in the emergency contact section was Karen's name written, with her phone number below. He saw the call records. He didn't know what he was thinking. He hoped to see Karen, yet at the same time, he thought it was better not to see her until they met again in the corridor. All the noise around him faded away. The first thing Marvin saw was the ring on Karen's ring finger. She was married. That was good. It was strange, the ring was so small. Yet how could he have seen it at a glance? Then Marvin thought, wasn't her fiancé supposed to be a rich second generation? Why was he so stingy that he couldn't even afford a diamond ring? When he heard Karen say that she wanted to pay him back the money, Marvin's expression became even colder. Was she trying to draw a clear line with him now? Why, he had been willing to spend money on her. Why was she paying him back? That night, he tossed and turned in bed, unable to fall asleep. He was afraid that as soon as he opened his eyes, he would see Karen coming to him with the card in her hand. So he left the hospital without delay and went home. He had bought this house not long ago. When he bought it, he didn't pay attention. It was only after the formalities were completed that he realized that this house was actually to Karen's taste, not his. After his body recovered, he went to the bar for a while. When he was leaving, someone knocked his phone out of his hand, and Marvin reacted strongly. Actually, he didn't care about the phone. The main thing was that the kite charm had fallen off once before, and he had a psychological shadow. It took him almost 3 days to find it. After that, he replaced the rope with an iron chain, which was sturdy and firm, perhaps because there had been too many things going on recently and his emotions were all over the place. Marvin fell ill as soon as he got home. Maybe he rarely got sick usually, so it was difficult for him to recover. He had a fever and was in a daze at home, not knowing how many days he had slept. When he finally felt a bit more awake and got up to pour himself a glass of water, he saw a woman in his house. At the door, Karen was standing. This familiar scene made Marvin's heart clench almost instantly, but because he wasn't fully conscious due to his illness, Marvin thought that since he had been misunderstood once before, it didn't matter if there was another misunderstanding now. However, after Karen left, Marvin, along with the pot the woman had used, threw all the things that annoyed him out of the house. Not hitting women was his principle, but when it came to men, he didn't care. I had imagined many scenarios of my reunion with Marvin, and not to make things convenient for those with ulterior motives. Learning from this experience, he changed to a password lock this time. Except for him, no one knew the password. Oh, Karen should probably know it too, since all his passwords since childhood were related to her birthday. In the quiet night, Marvin held the kite and the spool of string in his hand and then took out his properties to calculate. There was a number in his heart, an amount that was enough for Karen to live comfortably for the rest of her life without having to worry about food and clothing. When he saved up this sum of money, he would be like a kite with a broken string, descending straight from the high sky and plunging deeply into this land. The end of the full text.